Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Rebel Studios. Today we're going to be working on designer durags. Here's a list of what you're going to need. You're going to need a half a yard of designer fabric, a pair of scissors, some paper for tracing, some pins, an old durag, tape, serger, matching thread, and a pen or pencil. Here I am going ahead and taking that old durag, laying it out on top of my paper so that I can trace it in order to make a paper pattern. My paper pattern is going to be useful for me whenever I want to cut another durag, maybe in a different color fabric. The long piece on the front of the durag was too long for me to trace on this paper. If you have tracing paper, you have to worry about it, but what I'm going to do, I traced it on the other side and I'm going to cut it out when I cut out the big piece as I'm doing now and just tape it to create that long part. So I'm cutting that shorter piece now, and I'm getting up to go and get my tape because I did not have it with me. So yeah, I'm just going to take that piece on there to create the full pattern. And there it goes. So I wrote durag on my pattern so I really was my happiness. Now I'm taking my designer fabric and I'm going to lay it out and fold it over because it's just easier for me to cut it that way. That way I know that I'm not using too much fabric. So you're just going to take your scissors and cut the fabric around that pattern so that you kind of have an exact measurement of the design. It gets kind of hard in that middle piece to cut it, but when we run it through the serger, you won't even be able to tell. So just get it clipped as best as you can. Now you're going to have two pieces, and if you pay attention to that corner edge there, that's where you're going to want to lay or pin in your pins because you're going to need to serge that entire edge there together. So I'm just placing my pins in. I figured out that with durags, to be functional, you're going to want the seam on the outside of the fabric. So here I had started sewing it with the face of the fabric together so that it could be an inner seam, but I said no. Let's make it a functional durag because whenever the person ties the durag on their head, they don't want a huge line going down the middle of their head. So I'm going to do the seam on the outside of the durag. So I just flipped the fabric over and now I'm just running the fabric through my serger to bring those two pieces of fabric down the middle together. Once I serge this entire row, I'm just gonna clip it and tie a knot. So now I'm gonna take the edge of the durag and just run it through the serger, that entire unseamed edge. Just go ahead and run that through your serger. You're going to want to serge every edge of this fabric. And I kind of like the way how the exposed seam looks. So I use two different colors of fabric, of thread. Depending on the color of your fabric, you can do whatever you want to do with the thread. I mean, for fashion purposes, it looks better as long as it's matching thread. But you can always get creative and do something else. Now I'm doing the other side. So just run that through your serger. If you can tell on that edge, I kind of have a chain that's loose. So no worries. All you have to do is tie a knot in the chain. So I'm going to finish this one off and I'm doing the longer piece now. And then I'm going to let my chain out a little bit and then cut it. And I'm tying a knot now in the fabric. In the thread. So that the chain doesn't come loose. You can kind of see that exposed edge. You can see the inside. And these are for functional durags. And that is my ending result. You should come up with something like that. But thanks again for tuning in. Like and subscribe below.